It started with the sound of rain, heavy, cold, and endless. The kind of rain that turns streets into rivers and silence into a memory. Beneath an old cardboard box, a small cat curled up, shivering. Her fur was golden once, now covered in mud and tears of the sky. Her name was Maru. Once upon a time, someone whispered that name with love. Now, it was a forgotten echo, lost in the noise of the city. Maru had not always been alone. She once lived in a warm apartment, filled with sunlight, laughter, and the gentle hum of a girl named Ella. Every morning, Ella would call her name Maru, breakfast time, and the little cat would run to her feet, purring as if the whole world fit in that tiny kitchen. They would spend evenings by the window watching raindrops chase each other down the glass, and Ella would say, "Someday, we'll move to the countryside, Maru, just you and me." But that someday never came. One night the city was not quiet. There was smoke, panic, and sirens. Maru remembered the sound of breaking glass and Ella's voice calling her name through the chaos. Then everything turned black. When Maru woke, she was outside, surrounded by ash and fear. The building she once called home was gone, and Ella was nowhere. Days turned into nights, and Maru wandered through alleys, searching for the voice that once called her. Every shadow felt like her. Every sound of footsteps made her heart leap, but it was never her. People walked by, busy with their own stories, too busy to notice the tiny heart breaking in the gutter. Hunger became her only companion, loneliness her only shadow. One stormy evening, when the city lights blurred through the rain, a boy named Leo found her. He wasn't looking for her. He was just walking home, shoulders heavy from a world that didn't seem to care about him either. But then he saw movement under the box. When he lifted it, he saw her eyes wide, scared, but still holding a spark. Without thinking, he took off his hoodie, wrapped her inside, and whispered, "You're safe now, little one." He didn't know it yet, but that moment would change both their lives. At home, Leo dried her gently, warmed milk on the stove, and watched as she drank like she hadn't eaten in days. She didn't hiss or scratch. She just looked at him, a quiet, questioning look that said, "Can I trust you?" From that day, she stayed. Leo named her Maru, after finding the faint letters on her old collar. Over time, their silence turned into routine. Mornings filled with her tiny meows, afternoons with his laughter when she jumped onto his keyboard while he studied, and nights where she curled against his chest as he strummed his guitar softly. Maru would close her eyes and purr as the sound filled the air like a heartbeat. But beneath Leo's smile, something was broken too. Some nights, he would stare at his phone for hours, his eyes red and distant. Maru didn't understand why he cried, but she would crawl into his lap and rest her head there. He would whisper, "You're all I've got now." On the screen was a photo of him with his mother. The caption said, "Rest in peace." Leo and Maru, two souls stitched together by loss. She never knew the words, but she felt the sadness in his heartbeat. He never spoke her pain, but he saw it in her eyes. Somehow, they made each other whole again. But life, as always, has its way of testing love. One morning, Leo overslept. His alarm didn't ring. He rushed out, late for a job interview that could change everything. In the rush, he forgot to close the window. Maru sat on the windowsill, tail flicking as she watched him disappear down the street. Outside, the air smelled of rain and distant memories. For a moment, she thought she saw Ella's face in the reflection of a passing car window. Her heart raced. Could it be her? Without thinking, she leapt. The street was louder than she remembered, and every corner smelled different. She followed the scent she thought belonged to Ella. Faint, almost gone, but enough to pull her forward. She walked through markets, alleys, and the edges of the park where children played. The more she searched, the more her hope flickered. Still, she kept going. When Leo returned home that evening, his world froze. The window was open. The towel she used to sleep on was empty. He dropped his bag and shouted her name until his throat hurt. He ran through the building, the streets, every alley he could find, showing her photo to strangers. Have you seen this cat? No one had. Hours passed. The city swallowed his voice, and rain began again. He sat on the curb, drenched, whispering, "Please come back." Meanwhile, Maru had wandered far. Her paws hurt, her body weak. She stopped near a bakery where the smell of bread filled the air. The owner, an old woman with kind eyes, noticed her shivering under the bench. "Oh, you poor thing," she said, setting down a bowl of milk. Maru drank slowly, eyes half closed. For a moment she felt warmth again, but as night fell, she saw a girl passing by with a red ribbon in her hair. Her heart skipped. It was the same ribbon Ella used to wear. She followed the girl quietly, her tiny paws splashing through puddles. The girl entered a small bookstore. Maru waited outside, staring through the glass. Inside stood shelves of stories and the faint smell of ink and paper, but no Ella, just strangers. Still, she waited until the lights went off. When the girl left, Maru stayed. Leo didn't sleep that night. He printed missing cat posters with trembling hands. Each poster had Maru's photo and the words, "Please help me find her." He walked miles, putting them on poles, walls, stores, anywhere someone might see. Each time he taped one up, he whispered, "I'm not giving up on you." Days passed. Maru moved from one street to another, always searching. Sometimes she'd hear music faint, gentle, familiar. One night, she followed it down a quiet alley, through fog and flickering lights. She reached a small park. There, under a broken street lamp, someone was playing guitar. Leo. She froze. The melody was the same one he used to play before bed. Her ears twitched. Her tail swayed. Then, without hesitation, she ran. Leo looked up, tears filling his eyes as he saw the golden blur rushing toward him. "Maru?" he whispered. She meowed, loud and desperate, as if saying, "Where were you?" He dropped the guitar and fell to his knees, wrapping her in his arms. "I found you," he whispered, voice breaking. "You came back." Rain began again, but neither cared. They stayed there, tangled in relief and love, as the city around them disappeared into sound. From that night, Maru never left his side. But the story didn't end there. A few months later, Leo got accepted to a music school. He recorded the same melody, the one Maru found him by, and uploaded it online. He named it For Maru. The video went viral. People from all over the world writing comments about how the song made them cry, how it reminded them of someone they'd lost. Maru would sit beside him every night as he composed, eyes half closed, tail curled around his arm. Fame didn't change him. He still talked to her like she understood everything. Sometimes he'd smile and say, "We made it, didn't we?" She'd purr softly and reply. Years passed. Leo's hair grew longer. His songs became famous, and his little apartment became a home filled with music, warmth, and love. Maru grew older too, slower. But her eyes still shone with that spark from the night he found her. One evening, Leo sat beside her as she lay on her favorite blanket. The sunset painted gold across the room. He whispered, "Hey, remember that night in the rain? You saved me, you know." She blinked slowly, purring faintly. When the night fell, Maru closed her eyes one last time. Peacefully, quietly, surrounded by the sound of his guitar. Leo buried her in the garden under a small cherry tree. He placed her red ribbon there, the same one she'd carried from her past. For weeks, he couldn't play music. But one morning, as the wind rustled through the leaves, he picked up his guitar and began to play again. This time, the melody was softer, fuller, filled with both sadness and gratitude. It wasn't just for Maru anymore. It was because of Maru. And as the camera fades in the video, you see him whisper, "She taught me that even the smallest heart can change the biggest storm." Somewhere, maybe in another time, a little golden cat walks beside a girl with a red ribbon, sunlight on their fur, forever home again.